as far as the 49ers, do they have a weakness? I saw this, somebody pointed this out today on Twitter that when the 49ers run to the left behind Trent Williams and Big Aaron Banks, they against Seattle, they had 9 carries, 140 yards. When they run anywhere else, they had 7 carries for 5 yards. Is the right side of the 49er offensive line, and that would be Colton McKivitz at right tackle, and either Spencer Burford or Big John Feliciano at right guard. Is that championship caliber? Is that going to come back to burn them? How much of a weakness do you see the right side of the 49er offensive line being?
Well, if you take if you take those two guys and go, is this championship caliber? The answer is no. But then it's like, well, what team are they on? It's a championship caliber team. So yeah, it is, I guess. Like, so run left. How about that? You tell me it's working? Okay.
They run left, but I mean,
Well,
if somebody wants to load up on that side and just kind of force the Niners to run,
okay, then they'll run right and they'll be fine.
right, there'll be
Like,
less bodies over there.
yeah, I don't. Oh, the Warriors score more points when they give the ball to Steph. Is that a problem? Oh, I don't know. Give the ball to Steph. Let's find out.
Right,
Like,
right.
you're running it behind Trent, right? So he seems to be he is able to handle more. I don't. He's been on your team for a while. Like, yeah, there are things that are not perfect. All this, the sudden lack of depth at safety, Mooney Ward's groin that acts up all the time, the right side of their offensive line. Not a ton of depth at linebacker. If something were to happen there, you and I have been talking for months about the D line. They shored that up. Sounds like Hargrave will be back, right? But I mean, start going through. I always feel this way. Not to go back to college football, but like at the beginning of every college football season, I hate every team. I'm like, oh, they don't do this, this or that. They don't do this, this or that. That guy, but there's like 5 good quarterbacks in college football every year. Like, everybody's got holes. And look around the NFL this year. Who doesn't have holes? So,
I know. I mean, the Niners are probably the most complete team in the game.
Right. Yes. You're not going to be perfect. I mean, everything you do is about accentuating your strengths and protecting your weaknesses. So, they've got one of the best blocking tight ends in the league. They can put him over there. They do. They've got Kyle Juszczyk. They can use him there. McCaffrey's a very smart and good pass protector. So Brock gets the ball out quickly. They've got a good coordinator. All these things. I think it's fine. You wouldn't want it that way, but I don't. What are you supposed to do about it?
How concerned are you?
Run left less to like.
Right. Oh, no,
be able to run it more.
Well, I mean, and every team's got some weakness. I mean, these aren't perfect football teams. And maybe in today's game, you don't need to be a perfect football team. Missed tackles. Niners missed 14 tackles against Seattle. And they did miss quite a few tackles in the 3 games leading into the bye week. What do you think? I mean, as far as, missed tackles, is that a sign of fatigue in your mind? Is that a sign of, or do you just credit Kenneth Walker and Charbonnet? Because God knows those guys were electric this weekend. I thought both guys had a couple of incredible runs. Maybe some of the best runs I've seen against the 49ers all year came from that duo this weekend.
Well, that's my first thought because both those guys are hard to tackle. So there's that. I mean, I don't know, Larry. I just trying to spitball because they have good tacklers, right? Dre Greenlaw's a good tackler. Warner's a good tackler. I say Oliver's a good tackler. I don't have the metrics in front of me, so you tell me if I'm wrong, but it feels like Lenore's willing to tackle. The safeties tackle. Obviously, the guys up front tackle. Maybe could it be a function of, it felt like, especially early in that game where Seattle's running screen plays, you end up in space with a mismatch, and maybe that's a position where you miss tackles. I mean, that would be just if I was trying to come up with a theory as to why it happens, because it feels like they have good tacklers. Could it be that tackling you are like the study would be, are more tackles missed on screen plays? Because it feels like they had, Seattle ran some of that stuff against them, and teams do that against them to try and create a little breathing room for the quarterback. And those tend to be plays where you've kind of got one shot at the tackle, and then if you don't get it, it's 15 yards. What do you think of that theory? You think that
I,
holds?
I I do. I mean, I think the screen, well, also the angles, on screen passes. Sometimes, you've got to, sometimes you're not in a great position on screenplays. It feels like you're sometimes fighting through trash or moving at odd angles to try to make the play. It's almost like a creative chaos type vibe on the field where you got different guys at different angles, and oftentimes the defenders are in different spots. The timing can be different on different screen passes, even if it's the same screen to the same side to the same back. You could have defenders in different spots. I just think that there's and it seems like they're always reacting late to it. So it seems, I don't want to say it's random because it's not random. But I do think that screen passes kind of create kind of kind of an open field feel, and a lot of it's about desire to close down that space and get to it. If you had to say how to beat the 49ers, is there a
Stop the run.
stop the run? Do you play man? You don't blitz, right? I mean, Brock
don't
Purdy
blitz.
is the 23-year-old quarterback that you just can't blitz.
Yeah.
Don't blitz.
And you may be able to get home with 4. I think he's 8th. I looked this morning, PFF 8th in pressure rate in the league.
Okay.
Like he gets pressured. It's whatever 30. I could tell you again, but I think it's like 39% of his dropbacks,
Right.
which is high. Now he's 54% completion on those, which is good. Here we go. Passing pressure.
Because to me, I think you don't blitz, you rush 4, you mix your coverages, but you play a lot of man, and you may want to rotate late in the middle of the field because he seems like he throws the ball with anticipation to spots, and he relies on his receivers to get to those spots. And there's a lot of in-breaking stuff, and there's a lot of shallow, intermediate, and deep crossers.
You ready for this stat?
Yeah, what do you got?
Oh, so Brock is 8th in the league, 39% of his dropbacks. He's pressured on. Okay, that's 8th highest. Number 1 is Fields, 48%. Brock, this shocks me, Larry. Brock is blitzed 43%. That can't be right. Maybe this is 43% of blitzes result in pressure, which is number 1 in the NFL. Most.
Okay. He's not blitzed 43% of his
No, so it must be
dropbacks.
43% of blitzes result in pressure, which is number 1 in the league.
Which also stands up
Right.
to the fact that he's operating behind a line that's whatever it is, middle of the pack in O-line win rate or whatever.
His completion
block win
percentage
rate.
on those numbers, 68%, 4th best in the league against blitz.
Which is very similar to what his actual completion percentage is.
Yeah. It's also right there with Tua and Dak.
Right. So he's been remarkably consistent.
Yeah.
When you think about it, I mean, for a young quarterback, you would think that there would be some inconsistency, a little bit more inconsistency to his game. And instead, you're seeing a guy who's remarkably consistent. I mean, it just seems like every game he's playing, he's not going to complete, he's had games where he's completed 95% of his passes against Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty amazing. But he's also right around his college career completion percentage, I think was 67%. And more times than not, that's right about where he sits in these NFL games, right about 67%.
Well, he's been under 70% once since the first 3 weeks of the season. And that was Cleveland. First 3 weeks of the season, he was under 70% in all 3. And he's only been under 70 one time since.
That's amazing. That's amazing consistency. All